Today we are going to have a look at Manjaro, and I want to introduce this distribution to you in the event you haven't seen it. And while you are running right now Manjaro Plasma, there are three mainstream distributions. They are Plasma, XFCE, and GNOME. And there are, it looks like we've dropped a few of the community builds. There are now only three that I saw. So let's go ahead and have a brief look. Hit your products button over here and hit download for computers and laptops. And Plasma, XFCE, and GNOME, these are the official images. And there used to be a lot of community images. And apparently they've dropped a lot. We have Cinnamon, i3, and Sway are the only community images listed. Now, we do also, though, have ARM, so phones embedded, Raspberry Pis, and this is where you do see a lot. Maybe what it was is that these were all on the same screen. I'm not sure exactly. I do know that Manjaro changes their website like every other week or something, so the site always does change. So if it's different when you're coming over here and looking at it, just understand. So here you can see that you can download Pinebook Pro, or PinePhone. There you go, PinePhone Pro. There's Raspberry Pis, Rocks. You can see there's pretty much all the most popular ARM devices. You can grab a copy with GNOME, Plasma, Mate, a minimal version, Sway, and XFCE. Now we do have a minimal on your main images as well. If you hit your download button, no, not that. I think I'm on the wrong spot. Oh, you got to hit more. I'm sorry. Got to hit more. We can toggle back to a minimal or to a full, and this will allow you to grab the image directly or grab a torrent, and then you can see the signature and the checksum here as well. So if you do want that minimal, of course, the minimal means that it's going to install just the basics that it needs for the operating system and the desktop environment without all of the extra coding. Now, Manjaro, if you watched my earlier video for this year about distributions to watch, Manjaro was on this list for more of a negative reason, that if one particular thing happens, that I would no longer recommend it. And that is this Manjaro data donor system they were working on. Now, as of right now, as I'm recording this in late January, there has not been any progress one way or the other, no other commentary other than the original debate. This rolled out in November, and on the Romang on the Manjaro team said he's been working on the Manjaro data donor, short MDD. We have a whole video about this. Effectively, what they're doing is, instead of what they used to do is just hit a website ping off of ping.manjaro.org, which gave a rough indication of about how many different computers were used, but it had a lot of limitations, in which case it was just a raw IP address. Of course, IP address is one of the things that is considered private data by GDPR, so that was a little bit of problematic. And these network pings are common in most distributions. Many of them you can turn it on or turn it off. The problem is that Manjaro, what their current version of their website looks like they're trying to really make this push. This is your basic home users. We have some consumer stuff, but now they kind of are moving into this enterprise world, which is something that is fairly new to my memory. And as they're doing this, of course, every enterprise world wants to collect a lot of data. And so Manjaro Data Donor effectively collects the same type of information that Windows does. And I am standing very firmly against this approach. And if they choose to do it, it is opt-out, which means it is enabled when you first install the system. If you're installing the system on the internet, it's going to send that first report, and then you can turn it off or uninstall the package. But their approach is to run it and collect the data. And if you don't want to do that in the future, you'll have to opt out. The problem is this gives effectively a giant fingerprint of your computer to the Manjaro. And they say, well, it's all anonymous. The problem is the fingerprint data is not anonymous. It can be used to identify you, especially since Google in February of this year is going to start allowing marketers to use fingerprinting for systems as well. So if your data is in Manjaro fingerprinted and it's in Google fingerprinted, yes, you can be de-anonymized. And this data is there. Now, sadly, a lot of people are saying this is really a good idea. Down near the bottom of it, we did get a lot more people saying it's probably not a good idea. But what this person noted when this came out not too long afterwards, of course, a lot of journal articles picked up on this and said one of the things they see is the terms like privacy being removed from the description pages on the main Manjaro website. As I said, they seem to be moving away from more of a consumer focus and into some enterprise type focus. And we have to recognize that privacy is not something that businesses see. And this brings with it a common issue that a lot of people that switch to Linux do it for privacy reasons. Now, about half the people that use Linux are here for the privacy. The other half are here because it's an excellent development platform. And so distributions that tend towards more the business or the enterprise approach tend to care less about privacy. This is what the problem with Ubuntu is and why Ubuntu lost so much of its market cap. Now, I'm not 100% concerned about this. Like I said, I'm holding my stay. I'm not just sitting back because we have seen Manjaro do boneheaded things in the past, and then they ultimately did listen to their core team. One of these is the push of FreeOffice. Now, FreeOffice, despite free being the name, is not free and open source software. And what they did a long time back, this is probably going back like 5 years or so ago, Manjaro, like most distributions, shipped with LibreOffice. Then they decided they wanted to remove LibreOffice and package FreeOffice. Now, FreeOffice is free to use, according to their EULA, on up to 3 computers on your household, but it is not what we call free and open source software. See, there's the word free as in, does it cost me money? There's also the word free as in, am I free to use this application? So if you go over to the download page, you can see they have the Mac, Windows, Linux. They also have the apps for it. So if you do need to edit documents on Google or Apple devices, you can do that. But if you look at their EULA here, it does say here what you can and can't do. Obviously, it's not a long EULA, but still at the core of it is fundamentally opposed to why most people use Linux. They say here that you may install and use 1 copy on the software of up to 3 computers that belong to the same family household, which means that if you are on your computer and your brother is on your computer in the same household, maybe let's use husband and wife, that might be more typical, and you're both have your computers open and you're both writing something under the same household, you may not run 2 computers in the same household running the Office software at the same time. They are limiting your freedom to do so. Now, are they going to kick in your door? It is from Germany, but the Gestapo is probably not going to come and get you, especially if you're not in Germany. They do say you can make a reasonable number of backup copies for archive purposes as long as they're not distributed, and they say transfer the rights on the software on a permanent basis to another person or entity, provided you retain no copies of the software, and the transferee agrees to the terms of the agreement. But what they say, you may not make copies of the accompanying documentation, you may not sublease, rent, or lease any portion, and you may not reverse engineer, decompile, disassemble, modify, translate, make, or attempt to discover the source code of the software, which means this is not free software. So when Manjaro decided they wanted to drop LibreOffice, which is free and open source software, and put FreeOffice in, which is not free and open source software, then they have decided that a lot of the community really push back. And now on the installer for Manjaro, you do have the option to make sure that do you want LibreOffice or do you want FreeOffice or do you not want no Office at all? So if enough people come out and raise enough issues about this project, then chances are Manjaro will do the right thing with it. And at the very least, if they keep it at all, it would be opt-in exclusively. That would be the only way I would continue to recommend them. If Manjaro down the road decides to push this in an opt-out fashion, I will no longer recommend Manjaro. Now, as far as what is this, this is a Arch-based system, which, again, they don't really have a lot about the system here in the modern incarnation of the website. Their website's just gotten weirder and weirder over the years. They've dropped a lot of information. This is roughly based on Arch. It's not like an Endeavor OS or a Dragora or one of the other popular Arch systems, which is simply a easy installer with Arch with a couple extra tools. Manjaro is a little bit more like Ubuntu to Debian, where they do hold packages back. They do make a few of their own different decisions. They don't push things out as quickly, whereas in Arch, if an update comes in, it pretty much gets pushed into the Arch repositories as quick as possible. Manjaro holds everything back for an evaluation period. So this generally helps with some stability issues, but at the same time, some people criticize it for not being quite as easy. Now, as far as this particular edition here, this is 24.2. And they do have information release notes on the GNOME, on the Plasma, and the XFCE edition. You can read this post there. Just look for the Yanada release. I'm just going to have a look at the Plasma. I think this is the first time they got 6.2 in to Manjaro. I know they were holding 6.2 back for longer than some people liked. There was always a good reason for that. But this version does have 6.2. And with Plasma 6.2 coming in over the last couple of releases, I guess it says over the last 2 releases, so maybe they have done 2 releases of it. I haven't used Plasma on a regular system since I dropped Manjaro for my MX Linux on my Pi back in March, I think. But with this particular one, they have fixed a lot of the issues. There were some Wayland and Qt6 issues that they have worked through. They also have a lot of different features. Now, I did a whole separate video on Plasma 6.2, so I'm not going to go into fine detail on that. You can find that video on the channel, but we are going to have a look at very briefly what some of the settings are inside of the panel, and we're going to look at how Manjaro works. So here is Manjaro running 6.2. It is a nice, smooth, and clean system. We did install this on real hardware. So let me see if I can remember how to find the About system in Plasma. I always forget, is it system or is it About? There you go. So here we are. We are at 6.2.4 with the Qt framework 6.8. And we have kernel 6.12. We are on X, actually. I thought we were on Wayland on this one, but we are on X. I did not make that logical choice to be over on X. Presumably, if I were to log out, and I would then be able to choose a Wayland system. So you can see that we're on 16 gigs of RAM. We have a Ryzen 5 1600. Man, this computer was state-of-the-art when I built it. It's about time to build a new one, right? But here you can see all of the information. This is the settings panel. We have a nice search if you're looking for anything else. You can see all of the different options that we have. Just look through. It's all your basic stuff: power management, keyboards, touchscreens, game controllers, and things. Now, one of the things that Manjaro with Plasma was really focusing on a lot is your writing tablets and your hardware for creatives that might be using writing or drawing tablets in your system. You will find some of the settings in the system. I'm not sure exactly where those are going to be at. Let's see. There's touchpads, keyboards. That is in their release notes. But this it's probably a lot of the under the hood things. Now, we do have update notifications. You can see we have a red shield, which indicates that there are updates available from when I installed this. So looking at the updates, it wants to install a new version of Firefox, and then some small packages down there, like behind the scenes packages. So this is the software here called Pamac. This is what Manjaro ships to do a good GUI software manager. For the most part, this is a pretty good system. We can come down here. We can choose what type of software we're looking for. Now, I will note that up here under your hamburger menu, we do have these software mode button. What this button is going to do is it's going to filter out kind of like the core base packages from the just like front GUI packages. So, for example, if we search for Audacity. If we search for Audacity, you can see that we have two Audacities. The top one is from the official repository. The bottom one is from the Flatpak. And then you see this guy here, Audacity Docs. This is documents and things like that. If we turn on software mode, you'll see that the behind the scenes base type packages, these are things like codecs, things that don't have like a GUI application screen. Those are going to be hidden. Now inside of here, we also have, let's gotta access our password to get into here. We do have the options here to, you want to check for updates automatically. You can check, you can set this to every day, every week, every 12 hours. You can turn it off. You can set the system to automatically download updates, and you can upgrade the system at shutdown. So this is going to do kind of like more of a Windows type approach where it will reboot this, it'll do updates as you reboot the system. Manjaro has turned that off, which I'm very pleased to see. You can see parallel downloads. So how many downloads can you download at a time? They've set the default to 4. And then we can do mirrors from worldwide, or you can set where your mirrors are at. I'm not going to change those settings because the refresh process could take a little bit. As far as cache, this is how many versions of the software do you keep. So as you're upgrading software, I generally like keeping 3. That's useful because occasionally on Manjaro, I've had issues in the past where I'll upgrade a software package. Usually it's been Bluefish for me. The new version, something's broken on it, and you'd have to revert it back. And if you have a package cache, you can easily go back and revert. Under your third party, you can enable Flatpak support. This is disabled at start. I had to come in here and turn this on, and then you have to reboot your system in order for it to take the repositories and show up in the system. So when we searched for Audacity, you saw the Flatpak version. That's because I had previously come in here, turned this on, and then rebooted the system. And then we can check for Flatpak updates as well. So those are the options that we had. I thought there was a third item in there. Yeah, if you turn off the software mode, you have the advanced screen over here as well. You can check available disk space, remove unrequired dependencies. Do not check for updates when installing. I like turning this on because that's one of the reasons I stopped using Pamac on my Endeavor. I may not be ready to do update right now, but if I need a software package, please stop trying to install updates. Okay. And then do you want to enable downgrades? Those are things there. If you want to, for example, if you know Bluefish Editor is going to cause a problem, you can go ahead, come in here, find Bluefish. It's not here because it's not installed right now. But that would actually allow you to easily downgrade or hold back packages from installing. So there is your Pamac software manager. Of course, you can get that is on the default menu. If you just come in here and just type in software, you'll see it's add remove software. As far as the other applications installed by default, we do have a full suite. Now, this is not the minimal. The minimal install would not have a lot of the extra applications. That wouldn't have things like your basic viewers and stuff like that. It allows you to install just the basics needed for the desktop environment and then let you install the things that you might want. I generally don't do the minimal installs because I like to see the software it gives us, and also I like to see a system that looks a lot fuller. I don't want to pull the system up and it doesn't have a way to view PDFs, for example, things like that. So that's what we have. If you do want to connect your phone to your Plasma system, you can use KDE Connect. This will sync your phone and your desktop environment over the local network. And so when you're connected to your local network, you can view your text messages and some of your phone settings directly from your computer. We have the Elsa music player. We also have VLC. I installed Voco Screen. That's what I'm using right now to record the particular video we're recording now. LibreOffice, again, on the installer, you can choose, do you want to install SoftMaker Office, or do you want to install LibreOffice, or do you want to not install a Office suite at all? LibreOffice is my Office choice of Office suite of choice, so that's what I always tend to install. I'm familiar with all of the other ones, but I'm not particularly, I don't find the other ones particularly useful. When you do first install Manjaro, you will have this welcome screen. You can have it launch. I'm not sure why it didn't start. Maybe it did start for me, and I just turned it off, not thinking that I would need it. But this is the welcome screen. It has information on the documents, the support, the project, and then applications. This is kind of a quick installer for the most popular applications. See here, it just has 5 web browsers to choose from. As far as email options, it looks like they don't give us one. We have Evolution, Geary, Kmail, Thunderbird, Sifelead. And then under your Office suites, you can see the FreeOffice, LibreOffice, MS Office, OnlyOffice. And then there's just a number of other options that we have inside of here. So there is your basic overview of Manjaro. You can do most things in Manjaro without having to get into the terminal. Of course, if you do want to use things in the terminal, this does use Pacman. So if you want to install a software package, it's Pacman-S, and then you can see this is the last screen command I did, Voco screen. If you want to do a full update, SYU, this is going to check for updates. It's going to update the system and things like that. So those are things you can look up how to do things with the Pacman system as well. So there is our brief run view of Manjaro. This is actually a nice brightness scale, which does not apparently work on this one. You know what? That might... oh, maybe it is working. Okay. Okay, yeah, it is working. I'm not sure if you can see that on there. It looked like it was not working quite all the way. This is one of the desktop environments that's giving us a brightness indicator directly on there. We also can enable our night light functions from there as well. Nice little application we have down there. And then here's your devices. Here's what microphone. Of course, you can see it's monitoring the recording right now. This is Voco screen, which is recording. So you can see that we have a lot of other features. Plasma is a very nice desktop environment. It is not my absolute favorite, but if it were the desktop environment I was forced to use, I can live with it. I actually did my web development for a long time on Plasma, as I found that it was the best option that I had for the Raspberry Pi I was using for several years. So there is our brief look at Manjaro Plasma on the latest version. Let me know your thoughts about this. Is this a system that you really like, or is it something that you could kind of do without? Let me know your thoughts about that in the comments below.